Good morning, everybody. This is Greg Giglio, principal of Homestead High School, coming to you with our next installment of the weekly video message. Today is Friday, October 2nd. Welcome to October. Got some positive feedback when I've started to film some of these in different locations, so I've decided to pick the auditorium today. For those of you who know the auditorium, I just thought maybe a little sight down memory lane might be a fun thing and add a little difference to the video message. So let's get going with our message today. So I'm going to share my picture here with you. So let me get that going, my screen. So again, this is October 2nd. And so our roses this week, we have a bunch of them. So first one is sort of a joint one. It was for both Mrs. Ogawa Boone, who's our counselor for the students with the last name San through Z, as well as Ms. Salazar, who is a college and career counselor. Both of them got accolades for supporting students with the college application process. The parents really supported their help in that area. Someone actually also put in a rose for Schoology, and so Schoology's been getting beaten up, so I thought it'd be sort of nice to give it its own rose this time. So again, this family said they really prefer Schoology to School Loop. They have felt that it's more intuitive, it's easier to find stuff. You can put multiple students into one email, so it kind of cuts down on some emails. So they've really appreciated those functions. And this was just a really nice one, so I cut and paste the whole thing. It was really to everyone here on campus, to the whole HHS team doing a great job. We have many friends with kids in other districts, and we hear about disorganization, lack of preparation, kids not actively engaged in learning, etc., and are extremely gratified, they're grateful that our kids have the benefit of the superb Homestead faculty and staff. So I'm glad to hear that we are leading others out there. So I know our teachers and our staff have been doing just an amazing job. And as are our students. I mean, this has just been a tough situation and people are doing a lot of great work. I know we would all prefer to be in person, but we can't do that until we're safe and able to do so. But it's good to know that people are working as super hard as they are. And then moving on to our buds, which is the place where you can put in your thoughts or ideas or suggestions. The one parent asked, can Schoology provide an email notice for when a student is marked tardy? The answer is simply no. Attendance is taken through Infinite Campus, so it's nothing to do with Schoology. So let's talk a little bit about tardies. And actually this parent's Thorn went on, or actually this was a bud, but it may be a little bit more of a thorn too. Talking about that maybe students are missing the fact that that teachers are calling out attendance and in this case, their student was marked tardy. The parents said they were there, and so they were a little concerned about that. And so let's talk about attendance and tardies. And so again, one tardy out of the whole year is really not a problem. You know, that could be any sort of reason, and it's not going to really affect that student academically or discipline. Now, when tardies do start to accumulate, when you start to get multiple ones and you're coming in really late, it can actually start to be a discipline problem. So if it was a one-time slip up, miss, don't worry about it. It's really not going to be anything that's going to be held against the student. But just so you know, there are multiple ways that teachers do take attendance when they're doing classes. They might just do the old standard call and response. You know, Timmy, are you there? Johnny, are you there? And the student has to say present or not present. And so maybe they have to have their camera on, maybe have their mic on. So they got to make sure that all those things are going. They may also ask students to put something in the chat. One of our kind of community builder and icebreakers that we do is something called this or that. And you say, what do you prefer? Ice cream or cake, or chocolate or vanilla, or oceans or mountains? And so the student puts that in the chat, and that's actually how the teacher can take attendance and say, oh, every single student, put in an answer so I can take attendance that way. They may just look down at the bottom and count how many participants are there and say, okay, I have 27 kids and there's 27 participants here. So it means everyone's here, so I'm just gonna go. It could also be a collection of work or a warm-up that's going on at that particular time. So there's a variety of ways. Some teachers don't necessarily like to take class time to do the role. Like they will collect it in these alternate ways. So it may not be an actual, hey, something's coming your way. So, but there should be a familiar way that teachers are doing it. It shouldn't be a surprise. So if there's an issue, just talk with the teacher. And then again, we make mistakes sometimes. And so if it was a mistake, I'm sure the teacher will fix it. But if your student came a little bit late or maybe didn't speak up, they need to make sure they're paying attention. So just when we do talk about tardies, when a teacher's taking attendance, they either mark the student present or absent. And so absent means they're not there. If they come in after that time, they're switched to tardy, right? So it's not somebody marked automatically tardy. So there, again, there has to be a lack of person there, or the no response, and they get marked as tardy after that. If they say, oh, hey, I'm here, and they say, oh, okay, it's a few minutes into class. Now, for tardies, that's when you're from the bell, and I know we don't have a bell system, but from the start of class for the first 29 minutes. If they come in within that time, they're going to be marked tardy. If they're after 30 minutes late into a class, and again, we have 90-minute class periods, so it's possible that a student can come 35, 40, 50, 60 minutes late. Again, we would prefer that a student is there rather than not being there. So even coming late is better than not. But if the state has us mark students who are 30 minutes or later as truant tardy, and those do start to count against you in a disciplined way. And so after we start to look at, hey, you have too many truant tardies, you're coming in, you're missing significant amounts of class. That might be a conversation with the teacher, it might be a conversation with the deans or a counselor, but truant tardies, that you are missing a significant amount of class. And just a reminder too, that if this is a tech-related issue as to why you are late, we ask that the parent call the attendance line and say, we had an issue with our Wi-Fi, or the power was out, something like that. The attendance line will mark it appropriately. Students should take the responsibility of contacting the teacher saying, hey, we had an outage, my mom or dad called the attendance line. And that was something that also will not count against the student if it's a tech related, either on their end or on our end. If it's on our end, we will definitely not mark it as that students were unable to get to class. We will take care of that, and again, it won't count against your student. Quick note here, with the high weather and their hot weather and the high winds and all the stuff, there is some possibility of some power outages that PG&E is planning. Again, if hopefully they give you some advance notice, please communicate that with the teacher and with attendance, and so that they can understand if you're not there, it might be because you truly had a power outage. And so people have been asking, can we come to campus and plug in at campus? And we would love that to happen, but we can't, right? If we could have kids on campus, we wouldn't be doing remote learning. So we can't have you come on campus and do work. Plus, there's really not places around campus where kids can just plug in. So if you have advance notice, you might want to make some plans of like, can you go to a neighbor's house or to a relative's house, or go to somewhere where you might be able to charge. Are there libraries that are open, or Starbucks or something like that? But unfortunately, we can't take you here on campus because we're just not allowed to do that according to the county. Moving into our Thorns, our questions, concerns, and issues. One parent said, I'm concerned that I'm hearing a lot of parents and students complain that there's too much homework. And actually, homework is not too much. My student needs more. And this is where I get to use my favorite Latin phrase, de gustibus non est disputandum. When I was a student in high school, I had a history teacher that was also the Latin teacher, and he had this up on his wall. And it basically means to each their own, right? That in matters of taste, you can't dispute somebody's taste. And so we try, but you can't. And so what that sort of means here is that there's going to be students that are going to be overwhelmed. There's going to be students who think this is just right, and some that are not enough. And so that is something we try to adjust for and work with. If for some reason your student is finding like, I need a challenge, I need a little bit more, I'm ready for that, have a conversation with the teacher. And again, the student should have that conversation with the teacher. And they may be able to pull out some enrichment or extension activities for those students to do. And so again, it might help challenge them and get them motivated. This is also, though, a good time, though, if you find that your student is done with homework and they're quote unquote sitting around, that's not a bad thing. They should have some time to relax and unwind. And again, while we are still in this pandemic, people don't have as much freedom as they once did. But I would encourage you to encourage your students to really investigate their own interests outside of school. To be a lifelong learner, you need to use your own curiosity and to do something, not just for the sake of a grade or getting into college, but because this is something that interests you and something that you want to do. Some of us want to learn a language. Some of us want to learn a musical instrument. Some of us want to know more or how to write poetry. I mean, there could be a million things. So encourage your student to do some of those outside interests. And it may turn out to be something extremely rewarding and be something they try later on in life too. So might be a good chance for that. This parent also asked about here that there were people asking if we would go back to credit, no credit, and get rid of grades. That's simply not going to happen. I can tell you, guaranteed. no, 100%, we are not moving back to credit, no credit. We're staying with grades. That was really only in the emergency transition last year, because there were so many things up in the air. It was still trying to get kids connected. We were still trying to figure out how to do assessments. We figured a lot more things out now. We're able to do much more robust learning, but grades will be guaranteed. We will be doing those. So, you can rest assured that we're not gonna have to worry about grades, or you might worry about them, but we're gonna be giving them. There was another thorn about saying, also, I'm hearing that people are asking for more advisory time. I'm not sure where this one's come from, because I haven't heard this one. I had heard the grade things and the homework one, but I hadn't heard this one. Right now, during remote learning, there is an agreement that it'll be once a week on Wednesday mornings from 9 to 10. We don't really have a place to put it outside of that. I mean, you might say, oh, well, Wednesday is an open day, but really it's full of times for students to work on their homework or other assignments. It's time for them to meet with teachers. Teachers are meeting with also with other teachers. We're holding meetings. So there really isn't another place to put any more advisory time. So it's not like we're going to just expand it or do more. But once we do get out of remote learning, there is a mechanism in the way we're built here that we can continue advisories. And it is something we're looking at and seeing how we might continue it. It is something we've done in the past. We have found a lot of positives are coming out of the lessons that the kids are getting, and that the way we're interacting with students. So we are going to look to continue this. So how that's going to look after we return from remote learning, I don't know, but it could be out there. Let's see, is Homestead hosting an SAT administration this semester? Yeah, we do. We are. We have scheduled it for Saturday, November 7th. One of the things that it's going to be limited to seniors only, because we do have restrictions that are coming from the county, and we do have to follow very strict guidelines in terms of 6 feet apart and masks, and so we're going to be having a small number of kids in classrooms, and it's going to be spread out a whole lot more. So it's going to be, we are really limiting it to seniors to make sure that our seniors get that chance, because this is sort of their last chance before college applications. So it's more important that they do it. But if we have room, we can also look at others. But please know that, the county could come in and say, no, you can't do that, or this isn't going to work. We're still not sure 100%, but we're going to be following forward with their procedures as it is right now. And there are other ones that are out there at other school sites. Our district, though, is doing it on November 7th. We have heard some stories that people are flying to Arizona or Florida. Again, families are able to do what they're able to do. That seems a little extreme in terms of getting the SATs done. And there are some colleges that aren't accepting SATs anymore. So you might want to just make sure when you're doing the college process, you're looking at, does your college even accept that before you book a flight somewhere and possibly, expose yourself to all kinds of, COVID issues, because some states are not as strict as us, and some airplanes are not as strict as what we do. So just a word of caution, as well as, maybe the added stress of a student flying out of town to go do the test could be hard. Again, you guys have the right to do what you want to do, but for us, we have one on November 7th, and hopefully you're able to take advantage of that. Finally, finishing up here with some important information. This is the week that progress report grades are due. Again, just to give you a quick rundown, every 6 weeks, so at the 6-week mark and at the 12-week mark of first semester, and then the same thing in second semester, we take progress report grades. These are a snapshot. They're not a permanent grade. They don't get fixed into your, the transcript or anything like that. It is really just meant to say, this is where your student is right now. And the student can go up, they can go down. So if they have a high grade, it's not a time to just coast. If they have a low grade, that's when we say, okay, what do we do now? So that's often the question. Like, I just saw my kid's progress report grade. It's really low. Why? Well, you can do a little investigation yourself too. Check Schoology, see what might be missing or where they're not performing well. And that can be used as a conversation either between you and your student, or, with the teacher as well too. And so student, should be able to email or chat with the teacher and say, hey, I'm hurting this first semester. I've got a D or a C or an F. What can I do to raise my grade? That's a totally appropriate, conversation to have at this point, because again, there is time to go up or down. So please don't use this as an opportunity to advocate, set up an appointment during office hours. And, you never know, you might come up with a plan that will actually help improve your learning and help you do better in the class. if you also are kind of confused or maybe need some help in this conversation, emailing your counselor would be a good thing as well. Again, most direct would be with the teacher, but then also, guidance counselors can help and give you some advice and some support as well. If you're finding that your student does need some extra help in a class, and they want to sign up for something, well, we have what's called Athena, which is our online Homestead student tutoring program. It was actually designed by a Homestead student, and it's used here as our academic center. So if you go on to our website, go into the student portal, scroll all the way down towards the bottom, you'll see Athena. Click on that and you'll be able to sign up for the online tutoring. And so again, it's kind of anytime, anywhere, and there are students that are trained to help with folks. If you just also so you know what's coming up in terms of classes, October 9th is the last day to drop a class without any note on the transcript. So it's like you never took it, it never happened. But I do need to let you know that if you do drop a class, no new class will be given. At this point, it's way too late for you to be starting up a new class. You'd be way behind, and it's just something we don't do. So, but if you took an extra class and you're like, I don't really need this class, but I thought I'd push myself and it's just not working out, that could be a reason. Or maybe it's creating too much homework or something for you. That might be a reason to drop a class. But again, it can't be a graduation requirement. So you're going to need to be careful about that. It has to be something that's not going to affect your chance to graduate. Also, November 25th then is the last day to drop a class with the mark of a W. After that, it gets marked as an F if you drop the class after that. So it doesn't really make sense to drop a class after that. But just why that's important is on your transcript, when you turn that into a college, if you go to a college, they'll see that you actually did try the class and withdrew for some reason. It won't hurt your chances. It won't knock your chances out, but it might raise some questions for that college. So again, just want to make sure you're clear on those dates. So the 9th, up to the 9th, won't be on your transcript. After the 9th and between the 25th, it's a W for withdrawal. And after that, after the 25th, it's an F. So just something to think about. Again, it's been a pleasure chatting with you guys. Please know that this survey that I'm doing is still open. So didn't get a whole lot of survey responses this week, but hopefully we get some more next week. And again, this is what I use to talk to you with. So looking forward to seeing what your questions and roses and buds are next time. So until then, stay safe and hope you have some clean air to breathe. Thanks.